there's 2 or 3 things the club needs to be aware of and sort of consider. I had a call from a person who inquired about scholarships. His daughter got a scholarship, one of his daughters got a scholarship 3 years ago, and he wanted to know if we were going to give any this year. I sent out an email, and I guess we need input from Mark. If there's any money, if there's no money, then we won't be doing it. And while he's thinking, I've been, Janet Cadell, who used to work with us at Union Pines, has all left because of health reasons. And I've been talking to a lady down there that will take over, and I didn't put her name in here. I did remember that Clint Mack, now that's a name, from up north is helping them a little bit. And I did find out that Sunny Mac's, Summer Mac's husband. But anyway, scholarships, if we're going to do anything, the woman I talked to has the scholarship application forms that she can pass out if we give her an idea, if we're going to tell her to give her the go-ahead that she's going to do so. So then we've got everything set up to finish out this Rotary year as far as our grant. And then upcoming Rotary year, which is Karen's year, she and I have been working on getting things set up. She did a memorandum of understanding, or we did. She did. But anyway, we got that in, and then Isaiah and Jim and I and you, Karen, you did the grant thing also, didn't you? We went through the virtual grant training, and I would recommend any member of the club to go through that, because you get a tremendous understanding about everything that's available and what different grants that we do. So we have to make a decision on grants and get it in by May the 15th. This year, previous years, Northmore and Carthage has been separated. We each got $400 minimum. This year they combined our giving. It amounted to about $3,050. We get 20% of that, and then they give us a bonus. Bottom line, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 per club, depending on how we divide it up. Neil is working on the contributions that Northmore has put in for Rotary year 2018, 2019, and we will give you an update. Karen had suggested we do something at that special school at Pinckney, which deals with young people that have problems getting along in the normal school. So,
John, what we have to do, like join one project, we couldn't divide the funds, could we?
Yep.
I thought you had to do a plan, how you want to spend the money and remit it after you get done.
Yeah, I've been talking to Jessica. Yeah, and I told her we could either go separate or together. I mean, you can divide grant money up. A couple of years we did at least 2 grant projects and possibly 3. We had a lot of money in those, and we divided it up to at least 3 grants, or at least 2 with Carthage. So we can work out the details, and hopefully some of your folks went through the grant training. That's and maybe we,
I think Jessica did.
I think she did. But anyway, well, that's details we can work out as we go forward. Just the critical date is getting the decision made and getting it worked up and put in the system by May the 15th. Be thinking about it, and hey, you know, we had the folks from Pinckney come over here and speak to us one time. I've been trying to get up with the principal, Kenneth Wilson, but I haven't been able to, so, this reminds me of my church. We're doing everything on Facebook, and then they're doing this thing called Botcast and putting it on Rotary devices. But anyway, we'll work on this stuff as we go on down the road. Just be thinking about it, giving any ideas or thoughts on it to Karen. We will
John, let's hit the scholarships right quick and get that out of the way. As I'm just going on memory, and I haven't looked at the account balances in a while, but I believe we've got about $2,700, I believe, in our fundraising account. It's either 27 or 37, I can't remember. Either way, my suggestion would be, let's consider $1,000, $1,500 would be the range that we would do if we chose to do something. We're going to need a little bit of seed money for whatever we're going to be doing at fairgrounds in about 30 days. But I know we've done in the range of $25,000 to $3,000, but without having a big fundraiser this past year, we don't have the funds to do that. So my suggestion would be $1,000 to $1,500, and I don't think that would severely impact on the club, because we don't have any other expenditures that we're considering at this point. We'll have to do a match on whatever grant money we may receive, so we've got to have some money for that. And we're probably not looking at a significant fundraiser until our fall barbecue, I would imagine. So there's not going to be much money coming in unless we do some of these smaller ones, like what we're going to attempt in about 30 days. And with this being the first one we've done, I don't really have an idea as to how much money we may bring in. Could be $300, $400, $500, and that would help. So my recommendation is $1,000 to $1,500 scholarship if the club decides they want to fund one this year.
Well, if we did 1,500 total and gave 2 750s, that would be nice, I think.
And I don't think that would adversely impact us if the club wants to do that.
Well, do we need to take a vote?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Y'all want to vote on that? Does everybody agree?
Everybody in favor?
Everybody agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll let everybody know and get the ball rolling then.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Isaac, will you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neil, do you mind giving the blessing?
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, and thank you for the food that was provided for us. We ask that you bless the hands that prepared it. Lord, we ask that you bless this meeting and guide us in all that we say and do. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good to see everybody again today. Sam was unable to come, so if y'all don't mind, I'll step up and introduce our guest. First off, we're not doing a Zoom meeting today because the district conference started, they have a soft opening today. So being they cut the numbers down, they're doing Zoom meetings, and so they need all the space they can on the Zoom account. So that's the reason we're not doing, I've already touched out with Peter and let him know. We got a piece of pottery. I took it by Kathy's yesterday, and she's taking it as she leaves today to go to the meeting. and she's gonna let us know who gets that. And I'm sure, Neil, y'all sent some stuff too, didn't you?
We sent a couple of baskets and some fireworks.
Okay, that's good. We always, I miss going to Asheville. That place is nice up there. But anytime conference comes up, I miss it because the friendships you have with the outside clubs, you get to, sometimes you only get to see them at one time a year because some of the clubs, you know, are up in Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and stuff like that. But if y'all are interested and you have the time this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and today also, y'all should got an email from Christy about the Zoom account, and you can get on it and just watch a few minutes of it. The good thing that would be the award show to see if any clubs around here got, you know, triple crown or anything like that. So, go any further, we have two members today from Jonesboro Rotary with us. We got Terry McMILLIAN, and he's got the video and everything going here. You got anything you want to speak about, Terry, or are you going to come up also? You behind the camera, man. Okay. We also have Peggy Tappelman, is that right? She is with Temple Theater, and so just like Betsy, there's not much going on in the theater now, but I think y'all got some things already happening. And so she's going to come up and tell us what's going on up in Sanford, North Carolina.
So thank you very much. It's great to be here with my fellow Rotarians. Like you had mentioned, we've missed seeing each other in person, so I'm very thankful that you all are meeting in person and that we can be spaced out enough to not have to be masked up. I have been at the Temple Theater. I will start my 15th season in July. Our season starts July 1st. I can tell you that this past season has not been my favorite. But through it all, through all the challenges, like most businesses and nonprofits, we learned to be flexible and adjusted. And while other theaters around the country were dark and closed, the Temple actually remained open throughout the last year. And what we focused on was our youth programming. In a typical year, we'll bring in 10,000 kids into the Temple from about 8 surrounding counties. This past year, those numbers obviously were reduced, but since last March, we have successfully and safely produced 10 youth programs, so I'm really proud of that. We really amped those up because, well, one thing was parents were calling me and begging me, please get the kids out of the house. And they trusted that our COVID procedures would keep them safe and give them something creative and give them something to do socially, since everybody was stuck at home at the same time. So I'm thankful for the kids that showed up and the parents who brought them. That really kept us going this past year. We did do a Valentine's Day fundraising cabaret for 2 weekends, which was a big hit, and it was such a big hit. At that point, we were only allowed 25 people in the audience. So for those 10 performances, we were sold out. Typically, we hold 330, so it certainly didn't feel sold out, but it was better than nothing. But we had such a good time with that, and it did bring in a little trickle of income that we are doing a season closer of another cabaret, and this one's called Carolina Country Cabaret. And we started rehearsals for this week. It opens April 29th and runs through Mother's Day, May 9th. And one of our Temple teens, our past Temple teens, is a young woman, Faith Bardil. You might have heard of her. She's won North Carolina Female Artist of the Year several times. She's won Solo Album of the Year in North Carolina several times. Most recently in 2020, she won Tour of the Year. She's a fantastic young woman, and I'm really thrilled that she's headlining our country cabaret along with another North Carolinian, Andrew Crow, who's a nationally renowned fiddle player. So the two of them are kind of taking the reins, and then we have Shirley Proctor, who's fabulous. She's originally from Goldsboro, and she was our Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast, and she's one of our church basement ladies. So we're glad to have Shirley back. And then rounding out our cast, we have Mike Jones, who is our theater teacher at Southern Lee High School. So we have 4 adults. And again, because the youth programs are what's near and dear to my heart. our teens, particularly the ones who are graduating this year, didn't get the performance opportunities that they typically have throughout the year. They did get to do some holiday stuff around Lee County. They did our tree and train lighting, but I made them part of our Valentine's Cabaret, and we have 10 of them who are also going to be involved in the country cabaret. So this gives them a chance to perform before they go out into the world and become whatever they're going to become. But since we are ending this season, very thankfully, in a couple of months, next season is still a little dicey for us. You know, even though at this point I am fully vaccinated, the staff is vaccinated, we're not sure how the audience is going to come back. Some people are saying, you know, we're going to be there for every show and we're going to be in the front row, and then other people are still hesitant. So I'm planning things hesitantly as well. But as of today, which is how I start every day at the temple these days, we are going to kick off our summer season with all kinds of kids programs, which is at the temple. If you know anything about the temple's history, during the summer it's all kids all the time. Last summer we successfully did 5 of our camps. This summer we are doing all of our camps, and registration is going on now. So if you have young kids or no young kids, we serve from 4-year-olds to 20-year-olds. And we're doing 2-week camps of Treasure Island, which is an original musical based on the book. Our theme this summer is literature. Then we're doing a show called The Grunch for our advanced 8 to 12-year-olds, and that's loosely based on The Grinch by Dr. Seuss. Then we're doing a great pop adaptation of Emma, which is a musical for our advanced teenagers. And our Shakespeare this summer is going to be As You Like It. So again, we also do Rising Stars each week for 8 weeks, which is for the 4 to 7-year-olds for 2 hours from 10 to noon. That's about all they can take. So we've learned that the hard way. And then they do a showcase for our little ones on the Friday of their week, and each week's a different theme. So we have lots of activities available. We have scholarships available. I have some registration forms with me if you want to take one, and everything is also on our website, which is templeshows.org. But the full season, we are going to kick off in September, and I'm really thrilled, and I get a little choked up. Because Jason Petty is coming back to do his award-winning Hank Williams show, which is called Hank and My Honky Tonk Heroes. And he and I have been going back and forth. He won the Obie Award in New York City for his portrayal of Hank Williams. He's become a dear friend of mine. I called him and said, hey, I want you to kick off this season because we really need to lure the people back. And he's certainly the man. He brings the 4-piece band with him from Nashville who can do it. And he started crying. I started crying because they haven't worked in a year. So he's excited to come back. I'm excited to host them. They're going to be performing for 3 weekends in September. So if you like country music, and even if you don't, you will love Jason Petty. He's a great storyteller. He has a great voice and a great sense of humor, and he really puts on a heck of a show. So please join us as we kick off the season that hopefully will be, as opposed to last year, this season that wasn't, in September with Jason Petty performing his Hank Williams show. Then in October, it's still kind of a wild card slot. I had a couple things in mind, but none of those have firmed up yet. It might be a month of special events, again, depending on how willing people are to get out and about again. You know, I call it where all kind of fell into COVID couch syndrome. I know Rotarians are doers, so nobody in this room, but people as a whole, you know, we all hibernated a little bit, so it's going to take a while for everybody to get revved up and get back going again. So October's still a little bit of a wild card, and then at Christmas we are going to bring back our original musical adaptation of A Christmas Carol. And then in January we're doing a co-production of Driving Miss Daisy, one of Betsy's favorite. Thanks for inviting me, Betsy. And we're also doing that as a co-production with a theater in Asheboro that's called Rhino Leap. Again, because last year was not great for any of us. I'm trying to collaborate with as many artists and as many other theaters so we can all kind of share costs and help each other get through whatever this next year is going to be. After that, again, there's a little wild card slot that may or may not be our production of Steel Magnolias. We were in production. We had just had the opening weekend of Steel Magnolias when we were shut down because of COVID. So I still owe those ladies and our audience 2 weeks. But it just depends, because those shows were all sold out. So I don't want to waste it, basically. If we're still limited, right now we're limited to 100 patrons. We can fit 330. So if by the winter, we're able to pack it with 330 people again, I'll do it. If not, I'll save it for another season and pick a smaller show and put that in that slot. But we are going to do Church Basement Ladies 4 in the spring. This one is called The Basement is Our Fortress. And again, those shows they're corny and they're funny and they're heartwarming and they usually have a beautiful message. So I'm excited to bring those ladies back. Again, they've been with us now for 3 other Church Basement Ladies shows. And again, when I gave them the call that we're on, everybody's really excited to come back to the temple and share their talent with you. And then we are going to end our season with a beautiful Frank Sinatra tribute. It's called My Way, which is 4 singer-dancers and a 3-piece band. So this past year, although we didn't have a lot of ticket sales, we did somehow inherit 2 or 3 different baby grand pianos. So we have a beautiful baby grand piano selection available, and My Way is just the show to kind of showcase the beautiful musicianship and the beautiful songs of Frank Sinatra. So again, as of today, that is our season as planned. We kick it off with all the kids programs, and then we launch into doing our normal show schedule. It is a little different this year. Typically, part of my business model is we rely on bus tours that come in on Thursdays and Fridays at 2 o'clock to Sanford, and there could be 7 buses in a row. And we typically get thousands of people from 63 different counties in North Carolina, which is why the temple is not only the cultural heartbeat of downtown Sanford, but it's really its economic engine. Our restaurants and shops have really suffered without the temple being open and bringing all those people in. I'm not sure that's going to happen next year. So our show schedule has changed. We're not going to do those weekday matinees as of today. We're going to do Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights at 7:30, and then put those matinees on Saturday and Sunday at 2 o'clock. And we're just, again, that might shift mid-season. We might keep that for the whole season. It depends when those tour buses can come back. Another of our revenue streams that I'm pretty sure we're not going to have next year is student matinees. I mentioned earlier that in a typical year we'll serve 10,000 kids. Well, a lot of that is the kids come from 5 different counties on the school bus for a 9:30 a.m. matinee. I don't imagine those are going to happen next season. So I'm having to rethink and rebudget. I cut the budget by about 70% to get through next season. Obviously, last year was a complete wash. We did get some COVID funding from federal grants. We're still in the process of trying to secure some shuttered venues, operating grant money, but typically we rely on ticket sales very heavily for about 60% of our budget, and we had basically none. So we did have the kids' tuition, but financially, obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a hole that we'll be digging ourselves out of for a while. But I am thankful. We are a small but mighty staff of 9 people, and one of my goals was to keep them all employed with health benefits throughout the pandemic, and we did that. And what we did, other than the kids programming, is that we did months and months worth of physical plant upgrades. Floors have been redone. Everything has been touched. I know that I have glitter and dust from the 1920s, in my painting clothes, because we painted it all. We got brand new grand drapes for the theater. We have a new sound system installed. So we had a little bit of a rainy day fund. And again, in the beginning, we didn't know how long this was going to last. I was like, oh, we'll be back in a couple months. So we started spending our rainy day fund, which now I regret a little bit. However, if ever there was a rainy day, this was it. And these are projects, big projects, that we normally can't do, because in a typical year, the temple has programming 342 days. So, since we didn't, we could bring in people to put in a new floor in the dressing rooms. We literally painted and scoured and cleaned everything. So when you all come back, you're going to see the temple in its most beautiful shape it's ever been in since I've been there, since 2007. It's just gorgeous. The proscenium's been repainted. The windows have been retinted. I mean, everything we could do, we did. There's one project left, so if you need a Rotary project, we have to paint all the armrests of 330 seats, so if you ever have a spare Saturday you want to come and pitch in, just let me know. Which brings me to, we do have a guild, which has been very supportive during this. They did 2 yard sales for us that raised a little bit of money. That is very active. They do projects, you know. So if you're interested in joining our guild, I have that information as well. And they meet once a month. These days it's been by Zoom, and then whatever projects come up, they'll pitch in and help us get stuff done. So we're still here, we're still moving on. We are looking optimistically to the future, and really looking forward to the day where I can see all your bright smiley faces in the lobby from the stage. We were just featured yesterday, she came, so it should be live now, I haven't even seen it, on The Hidden Historian on WRAL. She came through and took video of all the nooks and crannies of the temple, and the original 1925 tile floor and the beautiful tin ceiling, and then everything in between. So we've tried to keep the name out there. There was a great article in our local newspaper, The Rant, about all the physical plant upgrades we've accomplished over the last year and all the kids programs. So I'm proud of what we've done. I don't want to do it again, as most of us, you know. We are looking forward to brighter days, but thanks for having me, and if you have any questions.
In a typical year, do the majority of your programs sell out?
Yes, and one of the things, when I got here, the programming was a little different and the schedule was a little different. And I realized probably 5 or 6 years ago now that there was an untapped market here in North Carolina. I come from the for-profit theater world in New York. And we were missing those matinees, that matinee crowd. And there's not a theater in this region that does the bus tour matinees. So I made some connections and tried it, and it's been a boon. But yes, most of our shows, believe it or not, the hardest night to sell is Saturday night. Really? And now that I live in North Carolina, I get it, because if you're home and you're working outside all day, or doing something fun with the kids, or at the pool all day, it's hard to shower and shave and get back out again. But our matinees were always sold. Thursday nights are a big seller. The Sunday matinees are a good seller. We've added that Saturday matinee in lieu of the Thursday and Friday matinees. And for our limited houses, those have sold out, but we'll see if that maintains when people get back to a normal schedule. But yeah, typically we've been, which is one of the heartbreaking things, you know, I came here in 2007, shifted things, changed budgets, changed business model, and had built the momentum, got the kids in the theater, got the volunteers in the theater, and then we've been dormant, pretty dormant, for about a year. So I'll see how long it's going to take to get that momentum back. The big question mark, well, there are a lot of big question marks. One of the big question marks is when are groups going to return and when are kids going to return? Because that was a big chunk of our ticket sales. And again, we get a lot of audience from Sanford, Lee County, but our audience comes from everywhere. We have season ticket holders. We're only going to do a 4-pass of season tickets this year. Typically we do a 7-pass because we do 7 shows. But again, we had to give so many refunds last year because we ended right in the middle of Steel Magnolias, which was sold out, and had to cancel Mamma Mia, which was fairly sold out. I don't want to do that again. So we're going to sell a 4 flex pass and that's it. So there are a lot of things that may or may not come back. I just don't know. And this next year, I'm being cautiously optimistic that people will come back, shows will sell. We're just going to have to wait and see. Kids will come, you know.
What's your pricing on your 4-pack? Typically, what is that?
Tickets are $29, regular tickets. And I believe it's 10% off of that, so. 26.
Is that sit anywhere in the theater?
Yes. And the cool thing about the temple, if you haven't been, is that there are 230 seats in the orchestra section and 100 in the balcony, but literally the back row of the temple is not much further than that wall. There's not a bad seat in the house. And that's why we get people from Durham and Raleigh and Greensboro and Fayetteville, because for 29 bucks and free parking and a good restaurant to eat before or after, you can't beat it. And we really do, I call it Broadway caliber talent at an affordable price. I still use my contacts from my former life and have developed, North Carolina is also a very talent-heavy state. You know, there are a couple states, there's a little bubble around Pittsburgh, a lot of talented people come out of Pittsburgh, a little bubble around St. Louis. Well, this region of North Carolina breeds some talented folks. So I've also tried to make this a true regional theater by using local talent. And these days I only go out of town to New York or LA, or I work in Portland, Oregon as well. I sometimes bring talent from there. If I can't possibly find them from North Carolina, usually you can.
Are your shows, they're not from Nederlander?
No, we locally produce them all. A package like Jason Petty is unusual. He's just such a hit with this audience. And still, he'll come in and they'll rehearse, because his band is scattered now. So they're gonna come in and rehearse for a few days on the Temple stage. We have an actor house that was generously donated several years ago by the James family. So we can have up to 9 out-of-town guests in that house. And that's only 5 blocks from the theater, so the actors or musicians can walk. But no, everything we do, we produce here. I have a costume and wig designer, sets are done in-house, props, the whole thing.
Because you get name brand people.
Right.
From, where was she from? The play Driving Miss Daisy was from, where was she from? She was from a TV show.
Right. Well, and it just depends. We're also a Comedy Zone theater in normal times. So we've had great comedians, you know, Carlos Mencia, world-renowned, Jimmy J.J. Walker, you know, Gallagher in Little Old Sanford, which is kind of cool because the Temple was built in 1925 as a vaudeville house. The acts used to come down from New York on their way to Florida, get off the train in Little Old Sanford, go do their act at the theater, get back on the train, and keep on going, whatever direction they were going. So to be able to bring in national talent is kind of how the Temple started. But I also am very proud that we also, well, not only do we teach them from the ground up, but we also try to nurture, because, you know, I was a freelance artist most of my life before I moved here. So I know how important it is. Not everybody wants to live in New York City. I get that. I lived there 23 years. I don't want to live in New York City. But that's where the work was. So I'm really trying to also give this talent pool, the local talent pool of designers and actors and musicians, a place where they can get paid, because there are a lot of theater opportunities in North Carolina, a lot of them don't pay. And again, you're not going to retire from the Temple with any kind of nest egg, but it'll pay your bills, you know, and I'm proud of that.
Was the Temple ever a movie theater?
It was a vaudeville house built in the 1925 as a vaudeville house. And then it became a burlesque house when that was famous. And then it became a movie house during both World Wars and through the 60s. And the cool story about that is that soldiers would come on the train again. The train was integral to the Temple's success. From Fort Bragg, hop on the train, come spend their day off in Sanford. And there were 2 movie theaters you could walk to, one right across the street from each other. The other one has been demolished. But the Temple had air conditioning, and the other theater had bathrooms. So you had a choice to make, depending on the season, of what was going to be important. But that's what really kept it going. And then in the 70s, you know, when malls grew and multiplexes were at the mall, and that's kind of when most downtowns in America died, the theater scene, the movie scene at the Temple died as well. And then in the mid-'80s, the theater had fallen into the early 80s, such disrepair that it either had to be knocked down or fixed. So the county and the city leaders got together and decided we're going to fix it, and I'm thankful, and everybody else is thankful that they did, because it is a huge revenue stream.
Where was the other one?
It was where the parking lot is now across the street.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, down Carthage Street, there's Warwick.
The Wilrick was the
Wilrick.
third. There were 3 movie theaters in downtown Sanford at one
There's
time.
even one in Carthage. There was a movie theater.
Right. Well, most downtowns had one, yeah. Where I'm from, a little town in Illinois, we had, and that still runs as a movie theater. It's one of those $5 second-run movie theaters, but it still has the organ that comes up. Now where I'm from is a suburb of St. Louis, but growing up, we never went to St. Louis. But in Belleville, Illinois, every little downtown had their movie theater. You had to do something.
Carthage had two.
Yeah.
I said Carthage had two. They weren't that big.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me. Thanks to Terry McMILLIAN for being my paparazzi. He popped into my office this morning. And if you want any summer youth programs or guild information, I only brought one poster because I didn't really know where I was going for the country show, but if you have a place you can put that up for me, I appreciate it. I'll leave that right there. Thank you very much.
You know, listener talk, we've talked about going to the Durham Bulls as a club, and I think it might be interesting to have a little conversation about maybe going to one of the shows when they open back up. You know, $29, everybody can.
Well, you know what we could do, because our Rotary, Terry and my Rotary, the Jonesboro Rotary,
Right.
rents out the balcony typically
Okay.
once a year for a show, and we don't fill it. So maybe you guys can tag along to that. We give everybody the group rate, and then you can work with our Yvonne, who usually is in charge of our food. We do a little snack spread and have beer and wine in the balcony. Don't tell anybody. But it's really fun because it's a fellowship night as well as support the temple and sing a good show.
Sounds
And
like
as of right now, that sounds like a good one, because at the Durham Bulls, I have a heart-to-heart with my groups person, and what they've done is, the season subscribers are season subscribers if they still want to be, but they don't have their seats. What they've done is they have a window for the season subscribers to pick out new seats, because they have sections of 4, 2, 6, and they're not together. So when I told her we may be 20, 30 people, she said we all can't sit together. We could sit in groups of 4, but one may be in section 1 over here, and section 2 over here, and so, you know, that may not work this year. Now, as far as the private area, it's very expensive. Very expensive. They want $300, and you can only have so many people. And again, it's not in our prime area that we like. It's either in the outfield, left field, or right field, but nothing near the bases where you see, you know, what we enjoy. So for this year, we might want to think Temple Theater and put the Bulls on the back row. That would be a better thing. And that way we are together and have to have a shift. Because if the Bulls is going to be like Martin Caroline and Jim and his wife, and then Junior and I and Neil and his wife. So, you know, we do more right here than we would at the Bulls. It's just something to think about.
I'd really like to go over there.
I think it'd be a great idea.
Jonesboro Club, if y'all would keep us in mind,
I will.
let us know.
I'll keep up with
The
her.
vast majority of our members would want to participate in that.
And it really is a fun night because you have the whole balcony, so we can
Right.
fit 100 people. And our club's not that big, so it'd be fun.
Right. I think it'd be a lot of fun compared to sitting in osmosis.
And we have air conditioning since 1920.
As long as you got bathrooms, yep, we're good.
I came in 2007. I was on the tour of Sweet Charity with Molly Ringwald, and I'm a little geographically challenged. The tour was in Greenville, South Carolina, which is nowhere near Sanford, North Carolina. I didn't know that at the time. And a friend of mine had interviewed for the job, but it wasn't a good fit for him. But he gave them my name. They called me. I had a day off from the tour. We have Mondays off. So I rented a car, drove to Sanford, did the interview. It was lovely. Walked around Sanford, which was not what it is today. Sanford's done a lot of upgrades and renovations since 2007. It's beautiful now, and it's ongoing. But drove back. The tour went several stops, and then was in Baltimore. They called me back. I rented another car on a Monday, drove down to Sanford, and that night Greg Gelb's Heart of Carolina Jazz Orchestra was playing on the stage. And again, the theater still has the original tin ceiling, so any kind of music sounds fabulous. It just so happened he had a vibe player that I knew from New York. So that was weird. I saw the show, filled the house with music. It was a packed crowd, having a blast. And I thought, this is it. This is where I want to be. I'm a small town girl. I had done it all in New York, beyond what I'd ever imagined I would do. And it seemed to be the right time. I was of a certain age, and of a certain age, you know it's time to move on. And so I did. And I thought, I kept my place in New York for 3 years. I owned a place in New York. I was one of the lucky ones. I had a great career. Just in case. But then I've been living here happily, mostly happily, not so much last year, ever after.
Well, the reason I was asking, see, maybe around 2010, I went to the show in Temple. It was really enjoyable.
Right. I was there. I've been there a long time. But I'm happy.
Well, my sister-in-law talks us into going, and she didn't get here in 2008. She came down from New Hampshire. That's a terrible place in the wintertime.
That's exactly right. One of our Temple kids moved to Chicago a couple of years ago, and I still have my full-length shearling New York City coat. I was like, here, you can have this, because I am never going to move to a condition where I need this again.
All right, let's finish it. Next meeting, we basically have been pricing out barbecue and buns and chips, and I'm trying my best to get donations from my work, you know. So hopefully we can get some money there to help us out on that. If anybody else knows of anything that we can help out as far as donations or anything to make this work, just think about it. So in 2 weeks we'll talk about that. And Neil.
Junior, I just want to make one announcement. We're having a fundraiser a week from today in Providence.
Okay.
We're selling barbecue plates for $10, and we'll deliver. We also need as much help if a few members to help out that day.
What day is it?
A week from today,
I can
next
help.
Thursday. Okay. We need 4 or 5 people on the line helping Jordan serve.
Something I want.
You can help at the door. You can talk to people and take tickets and money. And
That's my job.
Are y'all cooking barbecue?
no, we're having Jordan. Jordan's is doing everything for us.
Okay.
And Junior, I think I shared it to Carthage Facebook page. If you can share it again, or maybe get people to like it or whatever.
Audience view.
It may not be too much.
Junior, the meeting in 2 weeks, is that the fifth Thursday that we're gonna meet and just do planning for that fundraiser or what? What's gonna do?
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But that's going to be the 5th Thursday. Do we want to, you don't have a speaker as of right now,
No,
Lionel?
we have no speaker, but I do have food in my thoughts.
But do we want to use that as we might want to use that as a meeting just for planning for the fundraiser.
That's what we had said last time.
Let's
The
do that.
29th was going to be a work meeting about the,
Let's do that then.
And then we'll meet the following Thursday as well, I guess, because that's the first, right?
Yeah.
no, we have, the 29th is the next meeting. That's our work meeting,
And
our
6th.
discussion meeting. And then we have,
The first Thursday is the 6th.
right, there's 5 Thursdays, there's another Thursday in April.
Yeah.
The 29th, okay. So the 6th,
That's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, we're gonna meet in us planning, and then 3 weeks from today is our first meeting of the new month.
right.
So we'll meet two Thursdays in a row then.
Okay.
So did we want another work meeting or a speaker?
I would say a speaker that, the
Okay.
first of like, I mean, that's me, I mean, if something going. But I think we can handle everything in one meeting.
Right. If anybody has, I mean, I've got some speakers lined up, if anybody has any thoughts or knows of something interesting and want to get a speaker here, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to contact them. Johnny had mentioned somebody, but he said that right now is not a good time for that.
Everybody
Well,
stand.
actually, you're gonna have a meeting the 13th, we're doing that thing over there.
We'll discuss it. Do the four-way test. Four-way test of the police be clean, safe, or do? First,
Is it
is it
fair?
true?
Is it
Is it
fair?
fair?